We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
Hello, and welcome once again to another fantastic Tuesday where your host, Tyrone Glover, the Dress Down CEO, is pleased to be doing what I do best, which is helping you get prepared, helping you leverage your score, get to that next level, which is financial stability, financial wellness, financial freedom. I know we all want that financial freedom. I know we all want it so bad. And these shows are designed to help you do that. Again, my name is Tyrone Glover, and I am the Dress Down CEO of Leverage Credit Recovery. And I want to thank you to, again, everybody who is taking part in this live broadcast or will be going back later on YouTube or Facebook and taking another gander at it just because you couldn't make it at this time frame. It is now 6:03, and we know that you're probably either on your way home or you're already home. So do us a favor and do what we always do, which is send out a couple of invites. You can see that I'm live. Send out those invites to your favorite friends and let them know that, hey, that guy's back on doing that thing again, talking about what we should be talking about. I'm going to use a line from my mentor and dear friend, Dr. Yana B, giving you that checkup from the neck up, making sure that you know what you have to do moving forward. Again, this is April, and I'm sure you all know that there are two parts of April that we focus on. One is that autism. So it is Autism Month, and also it is Financial Literacy Month. And I'm going to be doing a couple of more shows throughout the rest of this month celebrating that understanding. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's just a United States thing. I think it's a global thing. But let's keep it in the perspective of the United States. It is Financial Literacy Month, and everybody should be doing their part. Doing your part to make sure that you are financially literate, financially intelligent, making sure that everything that you need is all taken care of. I know it's not going to be everything, but you should be addressing as much as you possibly can. You should be at least putting in that work to make sure that the most important things are those T's are crossed, those I's are dotted. All right, and today let's talk about financial wellness. Let's make sure that you understand what you have to do. All right, so we're going to dive right on into it, talking about financial wellness. All right, so what's important about financial wellness? Well, before I dive into it, let me give you a little bit about myself. My name is Tyrone Glover. As I said, I'm the CEO of Leverage Credit Recovery. I want to thank you to the support of our streaming partner, Soul City Network, and I'm honored and privileged to bring to you meaningful financial literacy discussions and a Q&A session every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity and the esteem it brings. So thank you to my partners here at Soul City. As you may or may not know, Soul City is a network that does amazing content. It helps us make sure that we're delivering upon the expectation of our viewers. And you may or may not know, Soul City is has partnered with some wonderful companies out there broadcasting along a variety of different platforms. If you are unsure, go to our YouTube channel, go to our Facebook channel, take a look, dive in, come back every Tuesday and also throughout the week. There are some great shows on this network. My show is clearly being aired at 6 o'clock every Tuesday, but there's another show that I always have to mention, and that's the Access Wealth Nation, which airs on Thursday. These financial shows are designed specifically to help you, the consumer, the citizen, get to where they need to go. But that is Dr. Yana B. Woodhouse, her Access Wealth Nation on Thursdays at this very same time. Mine is Leverage Your Score on Tuesdays. Come back for more. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about credit history. What is the difference between credit scores and credit reports? What are the different types of credit? How are FICO scores calculated? How can I track my credit score? And what's the state of your credit? Q&A, closing it out with some remarks. If you have any questions that you would love to pose, please go to Facebook. You can pose them in Facebook, or you can go right to StreamYard and you can pose those questions right in the StreamYard. All right, so the history of credit. The credit score is among the most influential invention in personal finance, alongside with the credit card and the Dow Jones average. But as influential as credit scores are, few people know the full history and how they came to be. So when we're credit scores actually invented, where? Well, here you are. What is the history of credit scores? Surprising as it may be, credit scores, as we know them now, and are only a few decades old. But the history that lies the groundwork for their development goes back almost 200 years. And credit is a fascinating area. I mean, when I say fascinating, it is fascinating. When you think about it, credit is an exchange for something else, depending on what that exchange is. If you go all the way back to the beginning, bartering what credit used to be, where if you had a cow, I had a sheep, somebody else had chicken, somebody else had lived in the woods and were chopping down lumber for houses. I mean, there's so many ways that we would exchange items for items, and we would do it sometimes on the basis of credit. So it's been around forever, but this scoring system is relatively new. All right, so here's a little bit of history. In 1800s to 1900, the beginning of credit. The earliest form of credit reporting arose in the United States in the early 19th century, when commercial lenders used them to gauge the risk involved in lending to different prospective business customers. So it was primarily for businesses, but as I said, in the individual space, it was also used in that regards as well. The first credit reporting agencies were small local merchant associations. They collected credit information about borrowers from correspondents across the country and sold it to banks and other lenders. So clearly you can see where the bank tie-in comes. By the mid-1800s, two of the most important credit reporting agencies were R.G. Dunn & Co. and Bradstreet. So that's funny that these companies now, they're still part of the business element, but there are also new elements that have arose for consumers, for the individual. Both these companies developed alphanumeric scores to predict the risk factors of commercial credit applications. But there were a far cry from the credit scores used today, and many cities accused the agencies of being unfair to certain demographics. And that word fair is a word that we should remove from our lexicon. Remove it. Things should not be fair any longer. Things should be equitable. All right? Equitable. We want equity. And that equity is going to help you with understanding a lot of the intricacies that tie into a lot of our financial hardships. All right? These individuals, unfair, and it's been unfair or it's been less equitable for individuals of color. And this has to change. So you can see credit has a long, rich history since the 1800s. All right, history of credit, early 2000s or early 20th century, the birth of consumer credit reporting. The idea of consumer credit would have been foreign to most banks in the 19th century. The early credit systems mostly involved businesses that required loans to start and sustain their operations. But at the turn of the century, as workers began to earn more and new consumers' goods flooded the markets, retailers started expanding credit lines to individual consumers. And this is basically what I say always, law of population. Anytime you have more of one and there's a means for someone to capitalize off it, where they're going to use that to their advantage. And they've been using it to their advantage for a long time. There's some retailers hire some credit managers to evaluate the risk involved on a case-by-case basis using the methods developed by commercial credit evaluators in the previous century. So again, the system itself has only, in my opinion, it could have gotten much better if the greed and the power structure had subsided, but the greed and the power structure only got worse. So anytime you have greed, power, and control, you're going to get individuals who get taken advantage of. And this is, again, decades, centuries long. In the 1912s, these credit managers formed a national association to develop a standard method of collecting, sharing, and codifying information on retail debtors. One of the leading credit reporting agencies at that time was Retail Credit Company in Atlanta. Founded in 1899, the RCC would eventually change its name to Equifax. 1899. 1899. So Equifax has been around for some time frame. Right? They've been around for some time frame, and it's no wonder that they still get to operate in the manner in which they operate. Equifax is again, you can believe me or not believe me, but do your own research, do your own homework, as I tell everybody. Get to know the individuals that you're doing business with. And Equifax is not your friend. They're not even close to being nowhere near your partner. And now we have two other ones that have emerged also through that time. So you have three of them now. So Equifax and went on to become one of the biggest three credit bureaus still active today. And they're not bureaus, and I love to keep the word in there so that I can always reiterate the fact that they're not bureaus. These are individual companies that associated themselves with bureaus so that they could have this government tied to it, and they're not anything part of the government. Now, the government or the congressional leaders, they do invest in these companies. And it's hard to, and I'm going to constantly keep saying, Congress, you need to divest your investments because you're not able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And you're letting these businesses get over with egregious understandings. Egregious. Yeah, you might bring in new elements like the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. You might bring in new elements like the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. You might bring in these illusions that the consumer is actually getting something, but those agencies themselves have been compromised. And it's sad. It is sad. If those agencies were really doing what they were supposed to be doing, these businesses that have been abusing consumers would not be doing what they're doing. So oversight is a huge, huge avenue in which we need to be focusing on so that consumers can start benefiting from all of their hard work and labor. In the realm and space of credit, we are working our butts off to get what in return? Literally almost nothing. All right, 1970 to 1975, the era of consumer protection. So in the 70s, after the RCC announced the computerization of its credit files on millions of consumers, Congress passed a series of consumer protection laws in response to complaints of subjective, unfair, and inconsistent credit decisions. And who do you think that subjective, unfair, and inconsistent credit decisions more or less harmed? Yes, exactly. Individuals of color and marginalized communities. Individuals of color and marginalized communities. the 1970s Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA, and the 1974 Equal Credit Opportunities Act, armed to discourage unfair credit reporting practices and protect consumers from lender discrimination. Those acts only embolden, and we were just talking about it, these acts only embolden because anytime you give the playbook to the actual individuals that you're supposed to be monitoring, you tend to allow them to get away with more egregious activity. And unfortunately, that's exactly what the 1970 the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the 1974 Equal Credit Opportunities Act did. It emboldened them because these individuals are brought down to Congress, and I'm talking about Equifax, Stranger and Experian, or anyone who abuses the acts that are there to protect us. And they bring them in, they fine them, they slap them on the wrist, and they send them back out there to abuse more. Habitual abusers, in my opinion, should be not given the opportunity to keep abusing. But while these acts regulated the Consumer Bureau's behavior, the three companies continued to expand their operations. 1975 to 1989, the first credit bureau FICO score. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the big three companies reporting agencies continued working to develop a consistent, automated, and unbiased credit reporting system to evaluate consumer credit reports, data, and assist in lending decisions. So just think about that for a minute. So they developed a consistent, automated, and unbiased, I doubt that very seriously, automated. So again, they've been using AI, they've been using technology for how long? Since the 1970s. And now all of a sudden that AI is now making its way into the space of consumers. Now all of a sudden it's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when you give it to bad people who use it in the wrong manner. Right? Good things in yield good things out. It's just that simple. But when you give it to businesses and you allow businesses to manipulate it and to do whatever they need to do to profit, and now all of a sudden now that the consumers are catching on, ooh, AI, it's going to destroy the world. It's going to move the up. Come on now, please. This constant perpetual state of fear has to subside. Businesses have been using it for decades and centuries. Now all of a sudden it's a bad thing. No. All right. Don't get bought into the hyperbole. All right. To that end, Equifax hired technology firms Fair Isaac and Corporation, known as the Fair Isaac Corporation, or better known as FICO, founded in 1956 by engineer Bill Fair and mathematician Earl Isaac. So there you have the Fair Isaac Corporation. So Fair being one of them and Isaac being the other, creating a corporation. Had already been working on creating a standardized impartial credit scoring system for over 20 years. So they have been focusing on this using, again, one of them is a mathematician, the other one is an engineer. So of course they were going to develop something that was clearly going to help business and then clearly help their business. And FICO is, according to FICO, there are about 90% of credit reporting information comes from this agency, 90%. So bias, monopoly, would you say? I would agree. Yes. And their systems only have been designed and created to keep marginalized communities, African Americans, Hispanics, anyone who resides in that poor space. Again, even in that middle class space, or I like to call it that ever eroding middle class space. And I also equally like to call it the working poor space. These are the individuals who are harmed the most. 60 to 70 and possibly even 80% of consumers are harmed by these entities that, again, Fair Credit Reporting Act should be taken care of. The Fair Credit Reporting Act should be taken care of. You know, there are 5 consumer reporting acts out there that are supposed to be taking care of you, and they're not. They're not, because of the fact that we have congressional leaders who have not gone back to address these concerns, but they still bring those individuals to Congress, slap them on the wrist, send them right back out there into the world with the hope and prayer that they're going to change something. Well, they haven't, nor will they ever. And it's up to us, the citizens, now more than ever, to start diving deeper in and resolving our own concerns. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need a paralegal. You don't need and nothing against these individuals. I have nothing but the utmost and the highest respect for anyone who gets into the consumer space and offers a service. But you better be doing it with an understanding that you're there to assist and help. And unfortunately, the law practice has been very harmful. All right. The certified financial planners, equally harmful. It's sad to have to say it, but the tea is already spilled. All right. The tea is already on the table. It's time to now start wiping up the mess instead of just thinking that, oh, maybe let me try to put it back into the cup. That's not going to work any longer. It's a brand new century. It's about to be a whole brand new generation coming up in 2025. And we're either going to get on board or we're going to continue to see the detrimental effects continue to happen to not just this current generation, but the generations to come. In the 1989, FICO and Equifax launched the first modern credit score called Beacon. All right. So the very first one, and they've changed it so many times ever since. And do you think they've changed it so that it benefits and helps you, the consumer? I hope you didn't say yes. They've changed it so that it would benefit their business model. All right, so 1990 to 2010, growth of the credit scores. In 1995, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac announced that lenders would be required to use FICO scores on residential mortgages application, lending to a specific uptick in uses throughout the 1990s. Right. So it sent things in a upwards direction, and the individuals thought they were going to be able to, again, benefit from it. But you know who got hurt the worst? All right. Marginalized communities, the working poor, the ever-eroding middle class, and my favorite category, which I love to hate the most, meaning I don't hate these individuals, it's the category itself, the name, the full-time working homeless. Now just marinate on those three categories for a minute. You got a category called the working poor. These people work their butt off 40 hours or more, and they're still poor. How? Well, it's a systemic understanding. You have the ever-eroding middle class. Those steps, those ladders, whatever it was, they are getting further and further and further and further apart, eroding the middle class. And then you have the elites who have more wealth than wealth. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. In 2006, the three credit bureaus created Vantage Score, a subsidy LLC that developed its own proprietary credit scores to compete with FICO. So again, you had a monopoly. Then you have another score out there. So now you got two scores. And again, you don't know who's using what data to get your information. Over the years, both FICO and Vantage have continued to revise their methods and release new versions of their software. FICO Score 8, introduced in 2009, is still the most used FICO Score version today. And they have had multiple. So this is back in 2009. We're now in 2024. How many times do you think that they have updated this to actually help you, the consumer? And if you think that that's what they're doing, I am so sorry to have to burst that bubble. That is not what they're doing. They are not out there trying to help you. They are out there benefiting, making their pockets much bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. These are for-profit companies that are billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies. And how do you think they got to be billion-dollar companies? By exploiting the masses. Exploiting. Don't even think you can try to call up to one of these organizations and say, oh, I need some assistance. I need some help. Well, one, they've outsourced it to other countries. And again, nothing against outsourcing, nothing against outsourcing it to other companies, or excuse me, countries. Nothing against that. But I'm here to tell you that there is a huge problem in the way that that operation functions, because you don't get the desired response from whomever. You get individuals who don't know enough about credit to go over your credit profile or tell you things that are completely against what the actual protections are. And then you can't get nobody who, nothing against individuals who are from other countries. But it's nice to have somebody who speaks our mother tongue, which is English. It's nice to have a business partner that is a willing partner, someone who is a decision maker to do what needs to be done to help your credit profile get to where it needs to be. We know we've made our mistakes, no question. But what hinders and prevents us from actually rectifying these mistakes is the outsourcing, is the inability for the individual who should know the law and don't know the law, so they put you on pause. The hindrance, the obstruction, the constant delays. Congress, you need to focus on the responsibilities that you have entrusted these individuals with, and they're not doing it. I've been doing this game for about 20 plus years. And in that 20 plus years, the level of success that I've seen has been this much, but the level of regulations that have literally been changed to help us has been about this much. And it's sad. It is extremely, and it's totally sad. All right, so you got 2010 to today, consumers permissed scorable data, right? In 1995, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, they announced again that they were going to be, again, starting this entire new understanding to help consumers. And did it help consumers? I'm here to tell you it did not. It did not. It put consumers right back in the same predicaments that they were in. It put consumers right back and also made the situations even worse because they didn't educate. They don't educate. They don't do nothing that they were supposed to do. Absolutely nothing. And it's really, really sad that we now have agencies out there that won't even assist. I always ask the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. I've always asked them, how is it that you guys do not do? You claim you're doing for us, but you're not really doing for us. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, you're not doing for us. The attorneys generals, they're not doing for us, which they should. These enforcement agencies aren't enforcing absolutely nothing. So that's why it's incumbent for us, the consumer, to make the time to understand the data and the information that's in your credit report, and then do your due diligence on either removing things that don't belong there or arguing the fact that it needs to be updated to the degree in which it's going to help you with getting this credit score that you're entitled to. Credit is a rocket ship. It is not a roller coaster. And we've been on too many roller coasters throughout the decades when it comes to credit. These ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. If you're doing the right thing, your credit should be going up. You should not have something like 23 different credit scores. For what? But yet none of you smart people out there, and I keep asking you, all of you, I want the Jamie Dimons. I want the CEOs of all of these financial institutions. I want Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian CEOs. I want all of the heads to literally join me one day, have a conversation, have a sit down with me. Let me bombard you with some real questions that consumers have asked me, and I would love to be able to ask you. So all of you scaredy cats, you afraid people out there who don't want to have that conversation, well, you don't want to have it because you know that we would light you up. We would light you up. We would make you feel some kind of way so that you'd realize, wow, you know what? Consumers are smart. Consumers are smart. Some of us just go with the flow like dead fish, but some of us can swim up that stream. All right, so again, 2010 to today, consumers' permissible credit scorable data. Credit bureaus typically only consider credit lines when they compile their reports. But in recent years, they've introduced programs to let consumers add other types of accounts to their credit reports as a way to help improve their credit score calculations. In 2018, Experian introduced Experian Boost, which is, again, a gimmick, a total gimmick. Please don't get bought into these gimmicks. Experian also has high-priced or high-paid actors who get out there and say, what's in your wallet? Or who get out there and say, I bought the team. Or who get out there and say, again, like Cena and Samuel L. And again, I don't have anything against these individuals. Get that bread, gentlemen. Get that bread. Kevin Hart, get that bread. If they're going to pay you, but the one thing I have a problem with is the gimmicks that you are putting out there. 5% cash back. Cash back. We talk about cash back. There ain't no cash back, sir. There ain't nothing. That's chump change. There ain't no cash backs. DJ Quick said if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. All right. So a few years later, a service called eCredible Lyft appeared, offering similar features for your TransUnion credit report. So you got, again, gimmick after gimmick after gimmick after gimmick after gimmick after gimmick after gimmick. They know you better than you know yourself, so they can offer you gimmicks thinking that you're really getting something, when in all actuality, you're getting absolutely nothing. Nothing is improving. Nothing is getting better. It's up to you to take control of your credit scores. And the only way for you to take control of those credit scores is to make it part of your daily, weekly, monthly understanding. When you pay them bills, make sure that you are also addressing your credit scores. When you pay them bills and you're paying them bills, you're wanting your credit to improve, but the only reason why they're not is because our regulators do not enforce what they have entrusted these individuals to do. Just because they write a protection act that's supposed to do something, well, if you allow for the abusers to abuse the protection act, then what is it really doing? Nothing. All right, so we got to get smarter, folks. And that's what these shows are all about, getting smarter, helping you with understanding the things that you're going to have to do. And if you do these things, I'm already telling you, you're going to have the success that you want. If you're doing these things, you're going to have the success that you want. Right? So what is the difference between a credit score and a credit report? Your credit score and credit report are two different products, but they are closely related. Lenders use both to determine your credit worthiness. The three major credit reporting, I said companies now, so you see how I changed that word, because as I went from bureaus to agencies to companies, because that's all they are. They are a company, and they have hijacked the word agency, and they have hijacked the word bureau to make it seem like they're part of the government, which they are not. They are not. And they should be fined even more. And they should not even be given the opportunity. Yes, they created the loss. They should not be given the opportunity of writing it off. But that's a topic for another whole day. All right, so these three major credit reporting companies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, each compile their own reporting listing your various lines of credit. Each report is different since not all lenders report to all three, but each contain a detailed list of your credit accounts and payment history. Credit accounts, meaning they get the information from the lender, and then those industries compile their own data to create a credit score. All right. They also contain information on things like credit inquiries. How many times are you out there asking? They don't tell you none of this in school. They don't tell you that in credit inquiry is going to hurt your credit score. All right. They don't tell you that, oh, make sure you pay your bills on time, not just the minimum payment, but make sure you pay at least down to 70%. They also don't even tell you to make sure that you wait at least 5 to 7 business days for those accounts to free themselves. And it shouldn't even be 5 to 7 business days. And when I say free themselves, I mean so that your utilization, your activity starts to report accordingly. There's none of this stuff that's ever given to you or explained to you. You have to go out there and find it out on your own. When you get a credit card, that's what the first thing the credit card company should be going over with you. They should be spending the most of their time, instead of trying to get you to get the card, they should be spending most of their time on getting you to understand the importance of maintaining a positive relationship with your lender. Not just giving you bread, but a positive relationship with your lender. So please come back as often as you need to this show and other opportunities that you may see us presenting other financial information. Come back and get you some of this information. It's only going to help you as you navigate through whatever financial challenge you have. They also contain information like, as I said, credit inquiries, repossessions, and bankruptcies. Repossession and a bankruptcy, that falls into a different category. And you do not want those two things on your credit report, because they have even worse repercussions than a late payment or a credit inquiry. All right. So what they don't contain in your credit scores instead of credit score is compiled by a separate company using FICO or Vantage based on the information contained in your credit report. Again, different companies use different algorithms. So algorithms. Now think about that for a second. All right. An algorithm is a program that is designed by, who is it designed by? It's designed by the company. And who do you think that algorithm is more than likely going to help? You or the company? Right. It's very simple. The company. All right. But both FICO and Vantage produced a 3-digit number between 300 and 850, representing how safe or risky you are as a potential borrower. Now, you used to have these letters like our government has: AAA, AA, single A, triple B, double B, single B. And all they did was change that process, kept it with the businesses, but then they changed the consumer portion, started coming up with these numbers that their algorithms and their AI intelligence had created based off of their information, not yours, based off of what they wanted to, again, to keep individuals at bay, right? To keep marginalized communities at bay. They didn't want marginalized communities to understand the full ramification of these numbers. Unbankable. Again, these numbers. You can't get a bank account if your credit's not of a certain understanding. You're considered unbankable. That's why all of these third parties and extra financial situations have popped up, like payday loans. We talked about predatory lending a couple of weeks back. All of these other nuances entered into the financial space that should have never been able to get into the financial space. Oh, but when you know how to dupe somebody, when you know how to take advantage of somebody, oh, you're going to create more and more ways of doing that. We have to create more and more ways of tearing down these types of understandings that are preventing you from that pursuit of happiness, that liberty, that financial freedom, those things. We need to remove these elements. And if these companies can't do it, then that's going to be up to us to make sure that these companies do not exist. It's not that hard. It's actually pretty simple. All right. The highest credit score given gives you access to the best financial products and the best terms. Makes perfect sense. But why shouldn't we all be able to reside around that 750 to 800? Why? Why is it that we can't? Oh, because the system itself is broken, like most systems in this country. Broken, and they have been broken by design. All right, so let's again continue with what are the different credit score models. Although most lenders use either the FICO or the Vantage to determine your eligibility for a loan or a credit line of credit, several other scores exist for specific purposes. Your FICO score. FICO is the most commonly used scoring model. It gathers information from all three of the major credit bureaus, agencies, or companies. Different versions exist for specific types of loans, like the FICO auto score and the FICO bank card score. So as I told you, you got a multiple, and you're kind of wondering why. Can you imagine taking a test and having 20 different teachers grade it? 20 different teachers giving you a score. That would probably make you feel some kind of way. especially if none of those teachers didn't, or if all of those teachers had their own scoring models that they were using. Glad that we don't teach like that. All right, so you got the Vantage score. The big three credit bureaus created the Vantage score to compete with the popularity of the FICO score. The most recent version of the Vantage score is the 4.0. There's a Plus score. Plus score was developed by Experian for consumer education purposes. Oh, God, please, let's not even go down that road when it comes to student loan debts. Biden is doing a fantastic job with eliminating some of the interest. He's doing a fantastic job with eliminating all of the debt if necessary. But what's still not happening is that the information is still staying on that individual's credit report. So Biden, again, if you need my assistance, if you need my help, Erykah Badu has given everybody the permission to call Tyrone. You need to reach out, sir. The White House, whomever, needs to reach out. You talking to somebody who knows the inner workings of, and I would love to be able to help our citizens. I don't give two flying farts about these companies because they've made billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. And the last thing that these individual companies should be doing is having the opportunities to make even more. Knowing the egregious attacks that they've had on millions, tens, if not hundreds of millions of consumers over their existence. It's a travesty, and it's only going to get worse if we, the consumers, do not get in front of our circumstances to prevent further harm and hardship that is going to happen. It's going to happen. You have the Trans Risk Score developed by TransUnion. Your Trans Risk Score has a scale from 1 to 900 and is only used to determine credit risk. So again, there's a third one. You got the Experian score. Like the Plus score, the Experian credit score is only used for educational purposes. It ranges from 280 to 850. So again, you got multiple scores for multiple things that should not be. Should not. There should be no reason why you're getting evaluated this hard off a wage that is a minimum wage versus a living wage. There's no reason why you're getting graded this hard on a subject matter that you have been given absolutely no tutelage, no education on. There's no way in hell that you should be graded this hard on a situation where the business itself has set it up to have you fail. All right, but yet we're getting graded and scrutinized to the hilt while these companies get away with billions. Go ahead and check their earnings. Go ahead and look at Equifax, TransUnion, Experian's earnings, and you'll probably be like, whoa. But yet they still get to operate. They still get subsidies. They still get money from the government. They still get while they are doing more harm than imaginable. And they still go down there to the financial committee, and they still get reported about how they're doing harm, but yet they still get the ability to operate. When do we shut this horrible situation down and create that what's going to be sustainable, that which is going to do what it's supposed to do? Well, one by one, we can do it. One by one, we can do it. You contact me, and we lay down what we need to lay down so that you can start benefiting. It's really not that hard. It's actually pretty easy. All right. So how are FICO scores calculated? The following factors determine your FICO score. All right. Your payment history is 35% of your overall score. 35%. All right. The payment history reflects your tendency to make your monthly payments on time. Late payments hurt your score. The next part is your utilization. Your utilization is 30% of your overall score. 35 and 30, that's 65. In any school that I have attended, in any school that I have taught in any school that I have had the privilege of being associated with, 65 points is a passing grade. Right? The amount of your total limit that you use at any given time determines your credit utilization rating. So again, 35 and 30, that is a passing score. So how is it that you never get a passing grade? Or you get the lowest added points to your credit report? You have new credit, which is 10% every time you apply for a credit card, student loan, car loan, personal loan, or other lines of credit. Lenders inquire onto your credit report, which docks a few points. And this is not a few points, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a few points. I wish it was a 1 or a 2. You lose quite a bit of points. The whole system itself was designed to hurt marginalized communities. It was designed to put those in the working poor category at a disadvantage. It was designed to equally help erode the middle class. And it was definitely designed to keep the full-time working homeless out of a decent resident or a residence, right? You got your credit mix. This is what your salads look like, right? I like tomatoes. I like cucumbers. I like cheese, a variety of different cheeses. I like spinach. I like iceberg. I like an assortment of meats in my salad. So your credit should have that same type of a mixture. And if you have a nice credit mix, that's again, your credit mix varies to the varieties of different types of credit accounts you have, like credit cards, lines of credit, or different types of loans. Right? The more varieties, the better your score. The more varieties, the better your score. Right? So the most influential institutions like let you check your credit score for free using the online portals. And there's only one. There's literally only one. There's only one, and that's the annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com is the only place where you can get, and now you can get it for free weekly. All right, due to the COVID impact, you can get your free credit report weekly. And I think you should now be diving into it weekly. Free annual credit report, annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com. Get your free weekly. Do this before it turns back into a yearly type of situation. Get this report and start breaking it down. And if you don't know how to read your trade lines, definitely reach out to Leverage Credit Recovery. Reach out to Soul City Network. Do your due diligence and let us help you manage this the way that it was intended for it to be managed prior to it turning into there's a expletive that I don't like to use, but before it turned into a blank show. Okay. All right. Let's do our part. Let's get in front of our situations before this next election. Let's do that. How about that? We got a time frame. We got a goal. Let's address what we need to address. Let's get everybody who is focused on financial literacy this month. Let's get in front of these situations and let's do it prior to the election, regardless of who gets in there. We already know that one of them is going to get in there. I don't care who you vote for. I do not care who you vote for. All I care about is that you are financially stable, financially secure, financially well. So we are coming now to the final portion of the show. The floor is yours. You know you have a question. So if there's anybody out there who has a question, please do not hesitate. Drop us a question in that question area, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that might appear. And I'll just keep going until if one or two or more questions do pop up. This is that time frame, folks, and I know that you have questions. I know that you're worried and concerned, and it's okay. I tell my students all the time, it's about your questions, knowing what you need to know, because if you know what you need to know, you're going to be able to navigate through whatever is thrown your way. And it's okay. It's okay that you might not have the ideal question at this particular moment, but normally it always comes when the show's over or after you've had the conversation. Ooh, I wish I could have asked X, Y, and Z. Or, ooh, I wish I could have asked that. Well, we know you got questions. We know you have questions about Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. We know you have questions about interest rates or inflation. We know you have questions about inquiries, What is a late payment? What is a charge off? We know you have questions about the variety of different things inside your credit report. And matter of fact, I'm glad someone brought that up. We're going to do a show, not next week, but the upcoming weeks, about your trade lines. What are they? How do they apply? And what are the things that you can do to get a trade line either removed once it has hit a negative status, or if it's just some personal information that you want to get off. Personal information is relatively easy to get off. But as I said, due to this outsourcing, unfortunately, individuals can't get these things removed. Why? Because of the fact that, again, these algorithms, these designs, there's a thing out there called e-Oscar. Now, how does a company get to create a mechanism that supersedes the actual laws? Well, that must mean that somebody who makes the laws must allow for them to do these things. And that should be, in my opinion, that's in the gross overreach of their responsibilities of the enforcer, definitely, and definitely an overreach by the company that's supposed to be doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is helping you, the consumer. Helping you, the consumer. And unfortunately, they're not doing that. And who is it impacting the most? It's impacting marginalized communities. It's impacting the African-American community. It's impacting the Hispanic community. It's impacting a variety of different ethnic groups who might reside in those areas of which I've already said. The ever working poor. I'm going to constantly keep putting that out there. The working poor. How do you work and still be poor? I'm lost at that. How do you work and still are part of a category called the ever-eroding middle class? How is that? How do you work and sustain a life when you are residing in a category that won't even allow for you to get a decent residence? The full-time working homeless. You've seen the homeless situations. People sleeping in their cars, people sleeping in tents. Thank goodness for warm climates. It's sad. It's sad that we constantly keep saying that we're the biggest, the baddest, the best nation on the face of the planet, but yet we still deal with 60, 70, almost up to 80% of consumers who don't have the basics of when it comes when it comes to financial literacy. The basics. This April Financial Literacy Month must be about making sure that we resolve as many concerns as possible. So if you have a nonprofit organization, if you have a church, if you have a school, if you are a private citizen, if you are a company, reach out to Soul City Network, reach out to Leverage Credit Recovery, reach out to Access Wealth Nation, reach out to a trusted body that you already know and ask those questions. How can I resolve my credit concerns? First and foremost, you have to be able to address them yourself. You have to be able to say, you know what? I've made some mistakes. And I've given everybody the playbook already. Own up to just your 10%, because the 90%, you don't have to take on that. That's not yours. That's not yours. Own up to your 10%. And I'm still going to constantly keep challenging Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. I'm still going to keep asking the financial committee in Congress to invite me, because I would love to reclaim my time to literally sit and lay down the law about what you guys have not done, what you have allowed to continue under the watchful eye of your institutions. But you're watching your pockets get bigger, and you're leaving out the fact that you were there to enforce. As much as I appreciate all of the agencies that are out there, I am a veteran. I am a soldier. I rose that hand and I put it on there, and I said, I will defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And currently, to date, I am not worried about our foreign enemies. I am worried more about our domestic enemies who have played us for fools. This April Fool's I did a show that more or less highlighted some of the shenanigans that go on. We're the ones being played as a fool by companies who claim that they're doing us a service. They're not doing us a service. They're making sure that their pockets stay full. They're making sure that their bottom line and their investors continue to capitalize. They're not making sure that we're okay. In Congress, you need to stop allowing these types of egregious overreaches. The best practices are about best practicing how they can take advantage of consumers. And the credit reporting agency needs to, or these credit reporting companies needs a complete overhaul. And if you guys can't do it, I know for a fact that we, the consumers, will put that pressure on to change some of these detrimental results that are, again, 60, 70, 80% of the nation are experiencing. This doesn't sit well with me, and it won't, and it shouldn't sit well with you. All right, so I'm still waiting on one of those questions. If anybody has a question, do not mind, but we're going to go ahead and give you some contact information. So I want to thank you for tuning in. As always, I am the most humble, the most genuine person when it comes to these spaces in which I get to present my information. I am so grateful to Soul City Network. I am so grateful to the other platforms that are out there like YouTube, like Facebook. As much harm as they have done, they're still very valuable to our content that we put out there. I am so grateful to the Yonkers Public Library that has also equally given me some space on Saturdays. Every single Saturday, I am at the Yonkers Public Library doing what I do best, which is giving away that free information. Like right now, free. If you take this and you apply this much, and I know it's this much, but if you apply just that much, guess what you're going to start seeing? Success. You're going to start seeing success if you get out of your way. So how do you get out of your way? Well, you reach out. All right. Telephone number is 805-428-9424. Text me, call me, whatever you need. 805-428-9424. Address or the email address is leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com. That is leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com. And our mailing address is P.O. Box 555, Yonkers, New York. And my apologies with the 10701. It is actually 10702. P.O. boxes always have a 2. All right. And equally, if you want to know a little bit of a plus, we have something called a link tree. A link tree. And that link tree is, again, one of the coolest things that I've ever had the ability of operating. It's now our website currently, because our website is under construction. So if you were to go to our website, you'd probably get that 404 error, and that's perfectly fine because I'm instructing you about our link tree. And our link tree is all about linking different elements of our business and other opportunities that might be out there, with offering some videos, with offering some different publications, so that you yourself can have a location where you can go to get educated. And if you want that personal one-on-one with the man himself, or with my good friend, Dr. Yana B. Again, I'm going to highlight that show one more time before we exit here. Dr. Yana B. is an amazing financial personality that every single person under the sun should get to know. Get to know her through her fabulous work by going to her website, Anaj Enterprise. Get to know her by her fabulous work on Soul City Network on Thursdays, where her show is presented, and it is called Access Wealth Nation. She's got a beautiful book out. Well, 2 versions of it. One is Stop Being a Sucker for the overall general population, and she's got another one out that's specifically designed for women. So get you your checkup from the neck up. She's a brilliant, brilliant individual. As we wrap this up, she knows exactly what she's doing, folks. Tune into her show Thursdays at 6. This has been, again, Leverage Your Score. My name is Tyrone Glover, and I am the Dress Down CEO of Leverage Credit Recovery. It is a pleasure, and I am always grateful to be in your midst on this Tuesday. I want to wish you and yours a wonderful Tuesday. Travel well, stay well, stay informed, and travel safe. I look forward to seeing you next week, right back here at 6 o'clock, and getting more of that information that's going to help you with making sure that you are financially secured. Welcome again, everybody, to the month of April, which is Financial Literacy Month and Autism Month. I want to thank everybody who gave me the time, and I look forward to seeing you back here again next week, Tuesday. If you can't attend, please go and view the content either on Facebook or on YouTube. America, be safe.